Alrighty, happy very Monday morning, and in 2 days, we're going to be hearing from the world's largest company, aka NVIDIA, and oh man, it's going to be a doozy, because many times before, in the last couple of years, NVIDIA has been able to really move the market in either direction. It's pretty remarkable, but when you have a company that's sitting at a $5 trillion market cap, and let's say that company goes up by 10% or down by 10%, it can definitely move the entire market. So if you're new to the stock market, understand that earnings matter across the board, and especially when the top dog company reports on pretty much what we are currently in right now, which is an AI build out, and the top semiconductor company, aka top company in the world, is dropping earnings and also going to be posting future guidance as well too. It's going to send this market either very much higher, in my opinion, or it's going to create this market to very much go the other direction. Either or, for me personally, I'm ready for this market going up. I'm ready for this market going down. If you've been following me here on YouTube, totally free to do so. Pretty much what I personally believe is building positions around great financial companies, great financial management teams. And hey, if your companies go in either direction with their stock price, but as long as the companies continue to go up with their earnings, it's a win-win chicken dinner in my book. So I want to spend today pretty much talking about NVIDIA straight off on Monday. Tomorrow, we're probably going to get even more articles coming out about NVIDIA. There's going to be three things I want to do in for today's video. First, I want to go over a short little article from Seeking Alpha. That will be down in the description. And if you're new here, welcome. I put out videos Monday through Friday, free educational content on Saturdays. And it's always free to hit all the buttons, subscribe, like these videos as well too. So if you can do that as well, definitely pushes these videos further out. And secondly, I kind of really want to go over what Gemini AI is basically pulling information for a blowout style of earnings. Now, I didn't ask AI, what do you think would happen? I pretty much asked AI, hey, what would it take for NVIDIA to have blowout earnings? Blowout earnings in the sense as like just amazing, spectacular earnings, pretty much like we saw during 2023-24 when NVIDIA was on just a massive tear up with their stock price, okay? And then lastly, I really want to go over the charts on NVIDIA as well, pretty much where NVIDIA might be going if they, or I should say if the street doesn't, the market doesn't like what NVIDIA is basically pretty much reporting. And hypothetically, if it is theoretically a blowout style of earnings, where the stock price could potentially go as well. So straight off the bat, I have an article down below, like you said. This one I found that was posted today by Seeking Alpha. Once again, take all these articles with a grain of salt. Understand that there are companies that will legitimately pay pretty much people to write articles about them. I'm not saying that's what NVIDIA is doing. Those companies tend to be in the penny stock market. NVIDIA is definitely not a penny stock whatsoever. But yeah, I mean, articles about NVIDIA, whether good or bad, NVIDIA has the earnings to very much back their thesis. And full disclosure as well, I don't own any NVIDIA shares anymore. I've been a shareholder many times. I am very much an AMD bull. I've talked about that many times before, but I truly see AMD over the next several years is going to be accelerating faster when it comes to their business than NVIDIA. I'll talk more about that momentarily. I am an NVIDIA bull overall, but I'd rather have exposure to AMD than very much NVIDIA, because I've had exposure to NVIDIA 2023-24, and I mean, if you were very much riding NVIDIA up during that time period, it's a growth cycle. It very much is. So if you're an NVIDIA shareholder, NVIDIA bull, this is the world's greatest company like we've ever seen. And yes, I do believe what is out there, that this company will someday be a 10, 15, 20, maybe even actually, no, I can very well say someday NVIDIA can be a $30 trillion company. The main argument is when. Because there are some NVIDIA bulls out there that truly believe this company is going to 20 billion in the next couple years. The math doesn't make sense. And I'll talk more about that momentarily. Okay, NVIDIA likely to exceed guidance again, only limited by supply, Webbush. So basically this article pretty much talks about NVIDIA is set to report fiscal second quarter results August 26th, this Wednesday in the evening. Very, very big day. NVIDIA shares were fractionally lower in pre-market trading on Monday, aka today. Yes, the semis. AMD is definitely down a little more than NVIDIA, but it's very much expected. For today, it can be caused by several reasons. There's some geopolitical stuff going on, some tariff drama, some Middle East drama. But all in all, this is just very typical. A lot of people get nervous, especially going into earnings. So this is very typical, especially for like a couple days prior to very much the world's largest companies reporting earnings, okay? But this article pretty much outlines how there is a price target on NVIDIA from pretty much Seeking Alpha, $330. You're talking about NVIDIA right now trading currently at $210 flat. So to reach $330, I mean, hey, that's definitely entering close to a $7 trillion market cap. Definitely over $6 trillion. But very much like a $7 trillion. So you're talking about, hey, a new world record, especially for market caps out here. Very, very bullish, this article. So understand that Seeking Alpha overall is extraordinary bullish on NVIDIA. And this is definitely one of the bullish articles out there. I can go ahead and find some bearish articles as well too. But the whole thing about it is very much it comes down to a couple things. And I really do like how AI, Gemini, is really mapped out here. And I agree with a lot of this stuff. Wall Street consensus, basically Wall Street is looking for 92.2 billion, adjusted EPS, gross margins, and forward-looking guidance. So basically, NVIDIA, they always beat. I mean, this has just been like something in the market, right? NVIDIA always beats. Well, is this actual factual? No, it's actually very not true. Believe it or not, there is a time period where NVIDIA was not always beating. We're in a massive AI build out right now, and it's causing these semi companies to pretty much like always beat, so much to speak, right? It really is a shocker when a company is very much expected to very much always beat, and then they don't, and then something drastic happens where the stock price very much sells off. But this is how like it works around the market. When a company is very much expected and then something goes wrong, there's an overreaction. What is a prime example? SoFi Technologies. SoFi Technologies 2 quarters ago, they did not raise their guidance. They beat on rev and they beat on EPS for the first time, and I believe, don't quote me on this, I think it was like 18, maybe 19 quarters. Yeah, 18, 19 quarters. Definitely don't quote me on that. But it was years where SoFi was doing a triple beat EPS, beat revenue, raise your guidance, right? Obviously, the stock price very much didn't go anywhere for several years. But the thing about it was that you could have a company very much always doing something, and the moment they don't, that's when it's going to be very much looked as like a doomsday apocalypse. Now, do I believe NVIDIA is going to triple beat? I do. But the thing about it is that now people really want some blowout style numbers. Do I personally believe that NVIDIA is going to come in and really blow out numbers? I'm indifferent. I really am, and this is why. In order to really have blowout numbers, they got to come in with such a revenue beat very similar to like 2023-24, okay? We can't be having these small little beats anymore. We got to have like a massive, massive beat. The forward-looking guidance has to really squash anything around that these big companies are going to be slowing down spending. understand that next year can be a very, very volatile year. And the reason being is because the company's spending all the money, they're probably going to go, if not, I mean, we're already seeing Meta very much negative free cash flow, which means they're spending more money than they're actually pretty much like making. Okay, when you have a company that is spending and you're spending more than you make, free cash flow goes negative, and then you're going to have, let's say, all the other companies as well too. Keep it simple. You make maybe 5-10 grand a month, right? Well, you make 5,000 a month and you're spending 6,000 a month, okay? You make 10,000 a month and you're spending 12-13 grand a month. Okay, you don't have any money left over and you're also in the negative every single month. Or let's say every 3 months you add up your income and you're like, man, I'm spending way too much money, right? That is what's going to end up happening to the world's biggest companies spending the money eventually. This money spending cannot go on forever. If you believe this, it doesn't make sense when you actually lay things out on paper. And then if you look back in history, it's a chip cycle. We have gone on chip cycles ever since these chip companies have been born, okay? There's going to be a next chip cycle. So, in my opinion, when is NVIDIA going to be $20 billion market cap and maybe even 25-30 billion? It's going to be the next chip cycle. When is that going to be? That's probably going to be many, many years out. So all the super, super big NVIDIA bulls out there understand that, yes, NVIDIA someday is going to be there, but it's going to be the next chip cycle. This chip cycle, it's very much like in the 7th or maybe possibly entering into the 8th inning. Okay, it's very, very much where we can't see NVIDIA grow like they did several years ago. And the stock price is very much going to be harder to move higher. The company is issuing a dividend. They're doing everything right, but the stock price remains stagnated. And that's because Wall Street knows that we're very much close to the end of this chip cycle. So to have blowout earnings, NVIDIA is going to have to come in very much greater. Very much greater, okay? That doesn't mean NVIDIA is going bankrupt. It doesn't mean NVIDIA is going to, stop being the world's greatest company. It literally means if NVIDIA does a small beat, we're not going to see their stock price pretty much do anything. So I really do agree with AI here that we really need to see very much a 10% plus on Q2 revenue. Very much a higher adjusted EPS, solid gross margins, and the forward-looking guidance. This is going to be a big one. Forward-looking guidance, everything needs to be pushed higher. Everything needs to be pushed higher across the board. So watch on Wednesday evening, especially for if they just do a small beat or if it's something kind of like a blowout style in a way. That's what's going to get this stock price very moving. Once again, stock price, okay? The stock price is very much different than the company. So if we look at the daily chart, each one of these candlesticks represents one day. Let's look at some stuff here on the daily chart, right? Relative strength index is 45. We have room to go lower. We have room to go higher. A lot of room to go higher and also a lot of room to go lower. It's honestly a coin toss. We have the momentum to very much go back, very much challenging, maybe 227. So you're talking about maybe 6, 7, 8% on the stock price. Will it be enough to actually get to a new all-time high? I mean, on the relative strength index, sure. Now, on the MACD, the only thing that is bearish on the MACD is that pretty much we have the bearish crossover happening. If you follow the MACD, the moving average conversion diversion, I actually have a video on this on my educational playlist. The green line is the MACD, and we've already crossed over the red line to signal a bearish trend. So hypothetically, if we start moving down, we can move down significantly. So be aware that theoretically the stock price could very much have the room to go to 195, very much on the 200-day moving average. Now, if we go ahead and look at the weekly chart tells a very different story here. So for the weekly chart, to zoom out on a broader, more kind of like long-term perspective, we are very much still on a bullish uptrend. You have all the moving averages very much moving on a solid pitchfork trend. Beautiful bullish uptrend. Absolutely beautiful. But here's a funny thing. The 50-day moving average on the weekly chart is at $193. So understand that NVIDIA could very much pull back to the 50-day moving average on the weekly, and we do have the room to move down because the relative strength index is 53. The MACD, it hasn't crossed over just yet for the bearish, the green line over the red line, but it very well could. So understand that on the weekly, we very well could pull back to 193, which ironically is the 200 on the daily. So understand overall for NVIDIA, it's the world's greatest company for a reason, and their chips are amazing. I am recording this video on a NVIDIA, I have a NVIDIA gaming, I'm also a video gamer YouTuber. Oh man, word salad. I love NVIDIA's GPUs. I absolutely think they are the best in the world. And yeah, this chip company is utterly amazing. But this is the reality around NVIDIA to really sum up today's video. These companies spending all the money, they can't be spending all the crazy amounts of money continuing forever. When they pull back on their spending, let's go ahead and keep the numbers simple. Let's say the top 4 companies in the world, Meta, Google, Amazon, Microsoft. Let's say they're spending a cumulative $750 billion, right? 750. When you say that out loud, that just is ridiculous. $750 billion, right? Let's say they all pull back to maybe 600 billion. Does that mean NVIDIA is going to go bankrupt? No. Does that mean AMD is going to go bankrupt? No. It just means, hey, we're not spending as much. There's still always going to be a need for these chips. It's just we're spending back. What's going to end up happening to NVIDIA? The stock price is probably going to crash, in my opinion. AMD's going to very much get it kicked in the nuts, and the chip cycle is very much going to be deemed as over. But you're going to have long-term bulls that are more than likely going to step in and say, this is a buying opportunity of a lifetime, because when the next chip cycle pretty much happens, well, you're going to have the 20T market cap for NVIDIA very much in that cycle. But here's the catch. That's probably not going to happen very much years from now. So I'm very interested to really see what NVIDIA is guiding for, because a lot of people on Wall Street are starting to catch wind that this party might be close to being over, really because of Meta's free cash flows and their earnings. You got 1 out of the 4 companies already having a terrible balance sheet. Meta's balance sheet was terrible. And the fact that Meta is $502 right now and they're not $500 and $450 is a little bit shocking. But understand that Meta's balance sheet is going to get worse. Meta's stock price is going to go down. Eventually, Google is going to follow. Amazon's going to follow too. And Microsoft will probably follow. And then what's going to ultimately end up happening, in my opinion, is you're going to have Meta very much recover along with Amazon, Google, and Microsoft. And the chip companies are going to remain stagnated, and it's going to be the software play. Right now, it's very much hardware. So that's really my thesis. That's what I believe in. But understand, like, long term, I'm always bullish on NVIDIA, but you got to be realistical about what is currently happening. If you're not, then it sets yourself up for a very, very bad hurdle. You got to be a realistical bull. You can't be a delusional perma bull in a way. I'm a perma bull around America. I'm a perma bull around the U.S. stock market. U.S. stock market goes away and America goes away. That's a shell shocker. But And when it comes to individual companies, I'm either a bull or a bear, and I'm not a perma bull around NVIDIA. And the realistical thing is that someday it's probably not going to be this week, this month, maybe even this year. But someday we're going to have NVIDIA very much break this bullish trend on the weekly chart. How do I know this? Well, if you go back in history and zoom out, unfortunately, NVIDIA has done so many stock splits now, it's a little hard to actually see all this. But if you actually go back in history, all the way back in history, you can basically see all these different chip cycles here. All the different chip cycles here, going back all the way in history. Obviously, now we're just on a utter tear like you cannot, like, imagine. A utter tear with technology. All right, everyone, I'm going to wrap up today's video with this. See you all tomorrow. Take it easy, stay motivated, and later.